This podcast is brought to you by Uncles David and Carlos. You want it, you need it, and you may not even know it. That's right, I'm talking about hugs. Everyone gets a little lonely sometimes, and when you do, there's nothing like a big, bearded bear hug to melt the melancholy away. But as anyone who's met them knows, they don't just specialize in hugs. Uncle Carlos will leave you chuckling for days, while Uncle David's delicacies will wash your worries down the drain. Next time you're yearning for a little affection, look no further than Uncles David and Carlos. Uncles David and Carlos, you're just one hug away from a happier day. Welcome to Little, Middle, and Biggle. I'm your middle brother, Joshua.
I'm your little brother, Andrew.
And I'm your biggle brother, Noah.
And we're the ones who will try our best to answer the little, middle, and biggle questions we all have in life. Today, as always, we've each brought a little, middle, or biggle question, and as always, we will each take a poorly aimed shot at answering them. So, I get to be the one to start off today with the little question. Super excited about that. Little questions are always the best, if you ask me. So,
Agreed.
yes. So, this little question is, for today, if you could wear any piece of clothing without the gender binary baggage associated with it, what would it be? So, for me, the answer is flats. You know those, like, invisibly thin shoes that girls wear?
Oh, yeah.
Wear the heck out of flats. I remember looking in a Sky Mall magazine at one point. Wow, that ages me. Sky Mall magazines. But anyway, a Sky Mall magazine at one point, and there were these, like, orthopedic springy shoes, and they came in all these, like, hideous, clunky loafer things for guys. And then there were these beautiful, like, silver and gold flats for girls. And I was just like, man, I was totally suckered by the gender binary system.
What about, like, Toms?
Toms aren't the same. They aren't like, they are a lot more material, and like they, instead of being like a tiny little slim, pretty much just like sole with enough
Stuff to keep your foot in.
Yeah, it's like having foot swaddling cloths. You know?
Yeah.
And also they're made of like wool and stuff, and that's a little more, I don't know, sweat inducing than I
guess that's
for.
true.
Yeah. So that's my answer. What about you guys?
Jinx.
I think a skirt.
Okay.
I think skirts would be great.
Not dresses?
Not dresses. Because
Okay.
skirts, it's just like, you're free,
Yeah.
you know? Especially doing things like rock climbing or, you know, just physical activity. I feel like having a skirt would just be infinitely more comfortable than the possible chafing and sadness of shorts.
Yeah, there was a guy in my Spanish class last semester who wore skirts pretty much every day. Long skirts, yeah.
That's kind of awesome. Noah, do you still have your kilt?
I do still have my kilt. Actually, I think it's there. But
Ooh,
interesting. Yeah, if you need to borrow it, you're welcome to.
Next time I go climb, I'll do that.
That's an awesome idea.
I have my wad kilt.
What?
Whoa.
I have my wad kilt, the workout kilt that I got back when I still did CrossFit. Do you remember that? It's like black and gray and white camo. No, okay, apparently you don't remember that. That's okay. Whatever.
I do remember that. I remember being jealous. Yep. Anyways,
yeah.
No, what's your gender bender clothing choice?
I mean, as soon as Joshua said that, I was kind of thinking, like, I immediately thought of a kilt as well, which kind of makes sense as a good option because skirts used to be more of a masculine clothing item anyways, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
So did you actually enjoy wearing the kilt, or was it just that kind of the novelty for it?
The novelty was kind of fun, but it is like, I mean, you can see how it would have been great for, I think like the Roman soldiers were some people that wore them, right? I mean, not kilts, but like, more of a skirt, or like Scottish people in general. It's just very, I don't know, especially the pleated version where like if you spread your legs out or like take a long stride, it doesn't restrict you at all. Like it's
actually wasn't that big with gladiators?
I think maybe it was.
Okay.
I mean, this is not a history podcast, so I have no idea. But yeah, I think so. I don't know. I would say that'd be my top choice if that was just like a regular thing for guys to wear, because it is very like unrestricting to your movement. Like, as people that do physical things and like go for runs or climb or whatever else, I mean, it just seems nice. Although like athletic shorts pretty much negate the need for it because you don't have as much restriction there. It's just another nice way around it.
Yeah, but airflow wise, I feel like a skirt would be great.
Except for in winter. I don't know.
Well, you
it
don't
would be
wear
great half of the
shorts
year.
in the winter. Well, I guess you do.
I do. What are you talking about?
That is what you are wearing right now.
Yep.
Yeah. I think that's one of the Harry Potter quotes that for some reason completely is stuck in my head is whenever that random wizard is wearing like a dress or a skirt because he's not used to Muggle clothes, and he's like, I like a bit of breeze betwixt my nethers or whatever.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that's when they're lining up for the Quidditch World Cup.
Yep.
Yeah. Goblet of Fire. Okay, well, next up is Noah with the middle question. What is your middle-sized question for us today, Noah?
Okay, middle-sized question is, would a world government be better or worse than separate countries?
Oh.
Okay, what's your answer?
My answer would be, I think that an overall world governmental organization can be very beneficial. I think the only catch is it has to be a very high-level general one because there are so many different cultures and people and different areas of the world with different needs and ideas that if you have a more traditional government, it would be hard to fit the needs of everyone instead of it just being a certain group of people kind of making the decisions for everyone else based on what their beliefs and needs and culture is. But I think it would be a good thing. It's just, if nothing else, it's another way for everyone to connect. I mean, I feel like the internet kind of does that really loosely, but it's another connection with everyone. Like if you're all part of the same organization or government or whatever, I don't know. I feel like it wouldn't be a bad way to bring people together a bit as long as it was done very generally with the interests of everyone in mind.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that last part is the impossible catch, because when you say that, I kind of thought, yeah, if you could do this and this and this, like have religion have no part in government and have, no not segregation, but discrimination between different groups, but Eastern European countries wouldn't allow gay people to be citizens, things like that, and half of the people in America still want religion in the government, so I think it's just kind of things work how they do. It's not that if you could get stuff together where everybody agreed, then that would be awesome. But I just think the sects that the countries have created within us would just kind of make it impossible to integrate all into one country, into one government.
Yeah, okay. So I have two thoughts. One is that the most that I've ever seen sort of hypothesized about a global government actually comes from Babylon 5. when there's the president of Earth, if you guys remember that, and then there's like the president of the Mars colony and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the key there is that the Earth is no longer in isolation as far as a dwelling place for humanity. So like in Babylon 5, if you don't agree with the way things are run on Earth, there is somewhere else for you to go. If you don't like the rules and regulations on the Mars colony, you can go to Earth. So I think that would be key in having a successful worldwide government, is that there are other worlds and other governments where you can go live. I think that if we were to instate a worldwide government, that would just make people feel, for lack of a better word, like trapped on our planet, trapped in this government that they might not agree with. Like, even when Trump was elected, people were talking about, and people did, like, move to Canada.
Yeah.
So if there's no proverbial Canada to move to, and a Trump gets elected as the global leader, or like a Putin gets elected as the global leader, what do you do? You know?
Yep.
Yeah.
You're just stuck.
Yeah, unless you like try and form a little hippie enclave somewhere out in the middle of the Pacific, but that doesn't really work.
All good thoughts. I think it's, in my mind, I'm imagining just the loosest possible thing without just like one leader even. But also, the more that y'all are talking, the more I'm thinking what I'm imagining is more like just some sort of global organization. Although I did say a world government, which is, I guess, a little bit different. You're bringing up a good point. So you're slightly changing my mind here. Anyways, sorry. Point 2, continue.
So are you thinking like United Nations, but like actually effective?
Like, sort of something like that. Something where it's that and also more inclusive of everyone.
Okay.
And maybe without all the, historical context of that.
Okay, but not like one leader.
No, not one leader. Although, like, that's a perfectly good thought experiment to do too. Like, it was a very general question. I'm just saying what I had in my mind, but the question itself is very general. So think about however you want.
Okay, I mean, I'd go for like something that was a global confederation, like the European Union, but scaled up to the whole world.
Mm-hmm.
I'd go for that.
Ditto.
Like, people of Earth. That could be the name of it or whatever. But yeah, my thought, the second thought that I had when we were still talking about like a global government and not just like global alliance, was just, can you imagine the stress that would be on the global president, but also like the kind of person that would try to run for that? I'm not sure I'm down for voting for anyone who's like, yes,
I want to run the world. Yeah,
the global president. Yeah.
But it's kind of the same thing saying, I want to be the president of the United States, because we kind of run the planet, bro.
I mean, but at the same time, there's still Putin being like, I have nukes. Just saying.
True.
And so there is kind of a power check between countries that would be lost if there was a global government, but not if there was just like a global confederation. So
yeah.
So to answer the question in that regard, yes, all for the global confederation.
Interesting. Yeah, those are some good thoughts. I think one of the things that I like about the idea is just anything that makes the people on the other side of the ocean or the other side of a border or the other side of some cultural divide to be one of us, like whoever you are, to be one of us and not one of them, And because it's much easier for humans to get along with people that they think of as part of their tribe,
Yeah.
So anything that brings that starts people off with this idea that, oh, that is one of us, even if we don't agree about everything, instead of like, oh, that's a completely different person. Like some people think of people from a different country or culture as a whole different species almost.
Yeah.
So I think I like that idea. Although after hearing those thoughts, definitely less world government-y.
Okay. Do you have any other ideas of ways that you could do that, though, that would require maybe a little bit less organization?
I mean, the internet. The internet's a big one. I mean, assuming that people have access to the internet and that it's not overly censored, you can talk with anyone around the world about anything, you know?
Yeah.
So
But
it opens things up a lot.
have you guys, I mean, I know you guys don't keep up with the news just a huge amount, and I just keep up with what I hear on NPR, but it's crazy how countries have started like weaponizing the internet and saying, if you're going to protest against us, citizens of this country, we're going to turn off your internet. And
Yeah, which is really, yeah, they're doing that in India right now,
yeah,
right?
Yep.
Which is, or at least in parts of India. That's wild to me. And I think it's good that having internet is kind of the standard and not, like a weird privilege that a few random places have, because it makes it, whenever it's taken away, it's like, this is a normal thing for people to have, like to be able to have this avenue of communication and, knowledge and everything. And it's an incredibly powerful tool for a country and for an economy and for individuals. And so taking it away is, it may be something that suppresses in the short term, but it also really shoots a country in its own foot by doing it.
Yep. Which makes you wonder what it's really like to grow up in a country like North Korea.
Yeah. Just
or
wildly
even
different.
China. Yeah. Not to be like, oh, the US is the best.
Oh, no.
Because I don't think we are. But we do have a lot of really awesome stuff. As much unrest as we may also have.
But yeah, I do feel like if you cut off the internet for any prolonged period of time for an area, that's like kind of putting up the modern equivalent of a Berlin Wall. Like just not being able to communicate or have exposure to new ideas or the resources that you need to be competitive in today's global market,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyone have any other thoughts?
None from me.
Nope.
Okay. Then Andrew, will you lead us out with the big old question?
Yes. Okay, so what are 3 of you guys' life goals, and explain them?
Okay.
So,
Go for it.
my 3 are to have a family, which is kind of general, and then be in a job that has a lot of flexibility, but that also can easily provide for a family and kind of give that family the life that we have been privilegated. And 3, to fly planes, because I would like to do that. That's a life goal. That's kind of just that is not something I want to let go of. Flying planes.
Like career-wise?
No, like flying said family
just,
around, flying you guys around.
You just always want to be able to fly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
Doing new things. Yep.
Okay, so explain the family one.
Okay, family one. That just kind of sucked to die and be like, man, in 10 years, nobody is going to know who I was. But if you have a family, they do. And also, it's kind of I think everybody kind of has a fear of oblivion and just not being around anymore. I think having offspring let's talk about this in the most clinical of terms. Having progeny would not only give you peace of mind, but also that would just be wild to see a child and be like, I am half of that.
Or that is halfway me.
That is halfway me.
Yeah, you're not half of your child.
That's a good point. I also think it would be awesome to raise a kid.
Okay.
Like teaching them card games and teaching them to fly planes and rock climb and do all the things I love to do.
Just imprint your personality upon them.
I mean, they are half of me.
So they better like the same things.
Yep.
Okay. So explain your second one then.
my second one, which was having a comfortable job. This is where the when people ask me, hey, what do you want to do when you grow up? This is kind of the limiting factor in saying things like, oh, I want to be a pilot. Because once you're a pilot, like, you do this cool thing, and then after a week, you're like, wow, I've now done this cool thing 7 times, and it is the exact same every time. I think being a doctor, though, as long as it is the right field of medicine, it's not just going to be the same thing over and over.
Yeah, it's not radiology.
But yeah, and with the kind of tying into the family thing, just the life mom and dad have given us is incredibly awesome. And I just cannot imagine growing up not like this. And I think if I had progeny, I would just feel like I was limiting them by not being able to do things like, take trips to Cayman Islands or have good experiences altogether. Not that you can't have good experiences altogether without money, but in a weird way, it certainly does. Money, it's like money lubricates Josh was shaking his head at me.
No, I'm just thinking like, this is you at your most capitalistic that I've ever seen.
Yeah,
which is fine.
This isn't quite coming out how I imagined it.
We are capitalists. Yeah, it's pretty much coming out like, I want to have money because if you don't have money, your life sucks.
Yeah, that's not what I mean. I guess
I think what you're saying is more like, if you have enough money, then you don't have to, you can focus more on having experiences that you want, doing things for other people instead of just survival.
Yeah, I guess, yes, that is exactly what I was. Thank you for lubricating my mind.
No problem.
Oh, just as money lubricates.
Okay, we are never going to use that expression again. Okay. All right. Is that the end of your answer?
Yeah, sorry, that was as you said, capitalist answer.
Oh, that's fine.
I already kind of explained the fly planes one.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a shallow one.
Okay, I am up to go next. So I agree with the answer, the first goal of having a family of some sort, but I will reduce it to at least just a spouse/life partner. That is my main goal, and I'll go ahead and explain it. So I'm not so much afraid of like never being remembered. Like when I die, the thought that in 10 years nobody will remember me, that's really okay with me. What does horrify me though is the thought of spending the last 5 or 6 decades of my life always coming home to an empty house, never having anyone that I can just completely confide in on a daily basis, regularly accessible, because of course I'll always have you guys in the distance, but I'm not so naive as to think that we will all share like a New York City flat together for the rest of our lives. So that is where that fear comes from. I would totally be game for kids, and I think that I would really enjoy raising a kid, but I would also really enjoy just kind of having my influence on other people elsewhere, just kind of in a more mentorship capacity, and or being just an adopted parent or a foster parent, and kind of finding the middle ground between those things. So that is goal number 1 for me. Goal number 2, and this one is kind of maybe the softest, but I would really love to run another marathon. I know that like when I was training for the marathon, every moment of my day, I thought, I cannot wait to not be training for a marathon. But at the same time, it is a sense of achievement that I have never found anywhere else. Even graduating from college, it didn't feel like I really earned that celebration in the way that I earned my marathon finishing celebration. Because, going through college, it is super rigorous, but it's also so drawn out. And it's not one single event where you train up, and then you have to just like do or die, complete it. Whereas with the marathon, like it is all up to you to put in the time beforehand, and it is all up to you to actually go and finish it. So I would love to do that again. However, for goal number 3, I would also like to finish a book, get it published. That is probably the one that I am most hesitant to say because it seems the least likely to happen, or the most easy to let fall by the wayside, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
And also the most out of my control, because I can write what I think is the best book in the world, and there will still be people, potentially all the people in the publishing world, who say, it's not really what the world needs right now, not really what we're looking for, so move along. Yeah, there are my answers.
Those are good answers.
Yeah.
Much better founded than mine.
Did you actually have something to add, or?
I did, and then it floated away.
Well, we can move on to your answer now, Noah, if you don't mind.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, I've been sitting here, like, writing down thoughts on y'all's and had just totally not thought about my own. So, give me just a second. I think the first one is similar to one of Andrew's. It's like, I think Andrew said have a flexible job. I think just more generally, I want something where the time that I am off is flexible. Like I can, like time that I'm off, maybe even the places I work, and then like to make enough money that I'm not having to work 80 hours a week, just struggling to make ends meet, more or less. So just any decent career. I don't know. I feel like there's just lots of, even now, whenever I have had a fairly flexible job and everything, it's like there's so many things that are going on all the time. Like so many things that I want to do, and like people that have ideas, and anytime someone has some new like business idea or trip idea or whatever, I'm like, oh man, I want to help with this or like be a part of it. And it's I have to like pick and choose as is, and I would just absolutely despise to be in a job where I only had a little bit of time off, or where I worked like 7 hours a day, but 5 or 6 days a week, and just never had like chunks of time to be like, yes, I'm going to like stop my life for a little bit and like build this thing, or like help this become a reality, or help with someone's proposal or their business idea or whatever.
Yeah.
So,
or like jobs where you can never actually be off call. Like I know that was kind of frustrating for you when you were chief medical scribe. Yeah.
Yes. Oh my goodness. It was like all those random trips I would go on, or there'd be like, I'd be working on some cool project, and then like the whole time I just have to stop and like answer calls and answer text messages and like put out fires. And it's, I can see the draw for some people because you're always needed and it's cool to always be helpful. But I don't think that I want to always be helpful in that way, where like where a job or a duty or whatever is dictating all of my life all the time.
Yeah.
Yep. I've noticed it's like I have a reserve of helpfulness, and when that reserve runs out, I'm just like, okay, it's about me now. Goodbye.
Yeah. Yeah. It depends. I don't know. There's just so many factors, but the flexibility is great. I think the number 2 is to do as much awesome as possible, or bring as much awesome into the world as possible, which sounds really kind of silly, but I think it came from like the the Project for Awesome thing. Like I like the terminology of it. It's not just bring like more happiness or more whatever. Like I like the word awesome because it's if you're helping save someone's life, well, that's awesome. If you make a cool costume, that's also awesome. Like I want to do things that are fun for me and for other people, or like make their lives better in some way. Like whether that's some really important visceral way or just for fun, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how to better word that. But yeah.
I think that is perfectly worded.
Okay, good.
And also very well executed up to this point.
Well, thanks. Number 3. This is tough because those are pretty much like that second one is pretty much one of the main things that I live my life by. Is like, what can I do to like make more awesome? And even the job thing is kind of just a part of that. Although it's also, I guess, a little bit of a personal thing because like I want that kind of freedom. Number 3 is to spend as much time with or doing things for friends and family as possible while still having 1 and 2. Like I wouldn't move to a city, you know, next to all my friends and family if it was going to be like a terrible job and I just had no freedom. But I would rather, I don't know, I very much want to spend more time with friends and family and do more things with them. I think a lot of that just comes from being too subscribed for a little while, like realizing I can just delve myself down into projects and work and everything and then like resurface 3 months later and be like, oh wow, what? I haven't talked to anyone in ages.
Yeah.
What's going on in everyone's life?
Yeah, we noticed.
Yeah, so
we respect the hard work that you do.
Yes.
Yeah, well thanks. And I mean there's something there I don't want to never do that kind of thing. Just maybe not that level and to that length and that extent. Like it's nice to be able to just say, all right, like I am going to fully go nuts on this for a couple weeks. But then like, you know, it's just for some reason it's easy for me to just fall into that and just keep going and going and going and going and going. And I get some stuff done, but then like I poke up, I'm like, oh, that was not nearly as important as I thought it was. You know?
Yeah.
Yep. PA school is unfortunately going to be a little bit of that, but that's just kind of a necessity.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah. Anyways, that's my 3. I have a couple thoughts on y'all's.
Okay,
but do you have any questions for me?
No, I mean, you were both pretty broad, but then also pretty explanatory in your explanations. But yeah, please regale us with your comments on our own life goals.
Okay.
Tell us, wise older brother, what we have done and done wrong.
No, I didn't have any done wrong. I just actually the one thing I would slightly disagree with is Andrew's comment at the end of his something about flying planes being shallow, like and his reasoning for it. I don't think that's shallow at all. Like that's a huge part of your life. Like you are like a person that has a passion for flight and for airplanes.
Yeah, honestly, like every time somebody asks me who you are, I'm like, oh, he's my little brother. He's like really into planes and stuff.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Like I don't know. I don't know if I've told you guys this, but I've recently, like, any time that someone mentions y'all at all, I probably just mention this more often than even makes sense to do. But I'll be like, oh yeah, you know, my brother's like, one of them is you know probably going to med school. He like does all this cool stuff, and then the other one is like just finishing high school, but already, you know, learning how to fly planes. Like, they're really cool. People are like, wow, that's awesome. It's never like, oh, flying planes, that's shallow.
Yeah.
What a selfish individual.
I think that you could reframe that as just like maintaining your identity. You know?
I guess so.
Yeah. And it's something you can do stuff with too. I mean, not that that is necessary for it not to be shallow, but it's like, it's a useful skill.
Yeah.
I do suppose.
So what other thoughts did you have for us, Noah?
Oh, the fear of oblivion. It was interesting that Andrew was talking about everyone has a fear of oblivion, and then Josh, you say it doesn't bother you as much. Because, like, I'm 100% not worried about oblivion. Like, if a meteor just roasted me right now, and I had like 5 seconds left to live, I'd be like, man, there's other cool stuff I wanted to do, but I don't think I would really stress about, oh man, are people going to remember me? All that. Like, I would rather just live my life and, you know, try and do as much awesome as possible. And if I'm living on, it's in, you know, good things that we've done, because that's really like, you know, you're just going to make a tiny little set of ripples that are just going to affect other ripples as, as time goes on.
That's just what we do as humans, bro.
Yeah, I mean, it's totally a human thing. It's totally a normal thing. And I would have absolutely thought the same way just like several years ago. I don't know. Maybe part of it might just be working in the ER and like seeing everyone on their worst days or their last days, one of the two. And just, I don't know. It's just, for whatever reason, I'd be interested to hear y'all's thoughts on this too, if you have other thoughts, but it does not bother me at all. It's just the idea of having a life where you're like selfish and don't have a positive impact on the world, or you don't even try to have a positive impact on the world. That totally bothers me. People that just have no interest whatsoever, like they just are gonna like exist and just like be selfish and then die. Like that sounds utterly miserable and so weird.
I agree with that.
Yep.
But yeah, I can think of no greater compliment than to be forgotten. Like, that means that you did not screw up and you are not blamed for anything crazy huge. Like, one of my biggest fears is being remembered as like one of the worst offenders in the generation that just really turned planet Earth to the toilet.
Yep.
Yeah. And so to not be remembered sounds like an incredible alternative. I would love to step so lightly upon the earth as to not leave a footprint.
Very good way of saying that. I think I stressed too much in my unorganized thoughts the not being remembered thing. What scares me more about oblivion is not existing anymore. Just like, I mean, I know I heard something one time that was like, if you don't remember all the time before you were born, why do you think you're gonna feel it when you die? But,
See, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've just kind of accepted that there is absolutely zero way that I will ever know what I will experience after I die, or, what I experienced before I was born, potentially, that I just have no way of accessing with my tiny human brain. Mm-hmm. So
that I think that I totally get what you mean there. It's weird to have things that are completely out of your control and that there's no way that you can know. But accepting that, I mean, this sounds like super, super like hippie or like, I don't know, monkey or something. But I feel like just accepting that there is no way to know about that and then just not worrying about it. Like, worrying about it will do no good. It's kind of relieving. It's just, if you take a step back from any emotions that you have about it and just think, what good is worrying about this going to do? Or what good is this action, like taking this action, going to do? Whatever the case may be. I don't know. It's kind of a little bit freeing and can help you make good decisions.
My brother, the Vulcan.
Yeah. That. Oh man, that's what it is. That's a totally Vulcan thing to say. Oh man, the Star Trek is really coming out.
Anyone else have any final thoughts?
Oh, I have one about yours, Joshua. Sorry to keep rambling, but
okay.
I liked all the stuff that y'all said, and I kept thinking stuff. So the finishing a book, like not wanting to say stuff, or like say stuff, not wanting to say stuff about goals that are kind of crazier or less in your control or whatever. Just totally get that. And also, I was curious if you're hesitant to say it to other people or like to say it out loud to yourself even.
Both. It's just that like I don't want to have to face that point where it's like, well, had this goal, it didn't happen.
I don't know. That's interesting. I totally get that. But there's totally research that shows voicing your goals and actually writing them down is one of the best ways to make them happen. Which sounds really silly, and now I'm sounding like a self-help Vulcan book, and I apologize. But
no, I mean you're an older brother. That's what before.
I feel like my maturity level is not high enough to have the older, wiser brother
Come on, you're the big old brother. That's what.
Well,
we brought
yeah,
you here
but
for.
I mean, you know, I also like dressed up as a gnome several times this year. So
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Joshua, you said you would love to be forgotten, but are books not like the best way to not be forgotten?
I mean, I'm okay if nobody ever reads my book after I die. I just want to share it with people while I'm alive.
interesting.
Like, I just kind of want other people to live in the world for a little bit. I mean, if people do that after I die, great. But I just kind of want to, like, go experience this cool, awesome fantasy world while, you know, there are other people to enjoy it with.
Yeah. It took us a long time to think of anything we want to do with our lives. I mean, we talked about that for like 25 minutes.
I think there's
Yeah.
just lots of thoughts about it. You know, it's a very it was a good general
Yeah.
question that sparks lots of thought, and we all have different ideas too.
Well, I say we go ahead and roll the credits for the last time, at least for now. So, this podcast is created by the three of us, written by none of us, and edited and produced by me, Joshua. Hopefully, it's also listened to and enjoyed by you, but no pressure, hey? So, join us next time, if there is one, as we unravel more of the world's big questions together, or maybe just get tangled up in them. We'll see how things go when we get there. Love, thanks, and T-Rex hugs from all of us. We couldn't have done this without you. Say bye, everyone. Bye.